Hello, everybody, and welcome to the dialogue. This is your host, Patricia, and I hope that you guys are having a wonderful day. So, today, I want to give you just some background in regards to the podcast, how it came about, the origination for it, and then I will go into today's content. So, the dialogue, as I always state, is an opportunity for me to get on and share insight that God gives to me for my life in hopes that it will help you transition, embark upon your journey of authentic identity, fulfill your purpose, and have your destiny. So that is the purpose of this podcast. It's called The Dialogue because no, I am not with you physically. However, it is my hope and prayer that as I share this information with you, you go and take it to someone that may need inspiration, and you guys talk about it and you can pull different things from it, and it will help you have a healthy impact on your life. So today I just want to welcome you to the dialogue. You can subscribe and follow the podcast as well. It's also available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and it's one more. I have to get the name for you. Spotify. There it is. It's also available on Spotify. So the dialogue is currently available on 4 platforms that you can access just depending on whatever app you prefer to listen to the information that is being given to you. So welcome. Welcome, welcome. So today I want to talk to you about the dead zone. The dead zone. And so when I think about the dead zone, it's so many components. And I'm basically talking to you about this today because this is something that I actually just came out of. So it is very fresh for me. However, I want to share it with you because I think you will be inspired. So hopefully that is what you will get from this message. Inspiration. So I'm the type of person, if I'm stagnated or if I am not progressing or moving or learning something new, I have a tendency to become agitated and bored. I am the type of person, I like to be challenged. I love a challenge, and it just kind of makes my blood boil when I'm challenged. It gives me a sense of life because you have to learn when you're challenged. When you get into a new season of your life, you can bring some of the tools with you, but inevitably you have to learn something new in order to be in that new place. With that being said, I do love to be challenged. So when you think about the dead zone, I am also very particular about people, places, and things. Things can be habits, things can be hobbies, things can be how you view things, mindsets, which is ultimately the number one thing that keeps people locked away or in bondage to these dead things, which are people, places, and things. So today I want to give you new perspective. And hopefully, as this perspective is explained, it will open you up to a different way of thinking so that you can get some different results. We all know that they say that insanity is doing the same thing over and over but expecting different results. And when a person is in the dead zone, this means that the relationship is dead, the place that you may live at is dead, the things that you are doing have a tendency to be dead. And you know they're dead because they're not producing any life. You're like a walking zombie. For instance, let's talk about work. You go to work, you do the same things over and over. You're not challenged. There's no room for growth. There's no room for promotion. There's no room to learn anything new. You're in a relationship. It doesn't bring you any joy. It doesn't bring you any happiness. It's really stealth, and it's actually toxic and unhealthy. You live in an environment and all you see and hear about is gunshots, people getting hurt. You hear people and loved ones fighting with each other, abusive relationships. You're scared for your kids to even walk down the street. All these areas and so many much more result in death. And when I say death, I'm not talking about the physical death, which is the last form of death where you go into the grave to be put into the ground. However, there is a death that people can live on earth. Meaning, You have no excitement about life. You wake up, you don't even understand why you woke up this morning. You're actually upset because you're going through so much that you didn't even want to wake up the next day. You're just irritated with life. You have no joy. You have no spontaneity. You don't want to try anything different. You're just doing the same things over and over and over. And I do understand that at times there are some seasons where we do have to do that, and we have to persevere and progress through. But this is not a season for you. Your life has been like this forever, for a very long time. So much to the point that you cannot even remember or recall how it was to be prior to getting into this specific phase of your life. Maybe something happened. Maybe you had a traumatic situation where someone died and you were with this person all the time, and now you don't know what to do without them. Maybe you had a situation where you thought that you were going to get a job opportunity and it didn't, and you went to school and you did this and you did that and you connected all the dots, but it didn't happen. That level of disappointment can also lead people into what I call a dead zone. So let me piggyback and explain what I mean about a dead zone. So where I lived a couple months ago, actually I lived there for a couple years, they called it a dead zone, meaning that the markets and the stores, there were hardly any markets or stores around that area. Transportation in regards to the bus was sparse or scarce, meaning that it didn't take people the direct route that they needed to go. You would have to catch the bus and then walk blocks to get to where you needed to go. It wasn't a lot of transportation, a lot of routes. So you have issues with the store, you have issues with transportation, and it's just an area where there's really nothing in that area. Nothing conducive, nothing fun to do. It's just dead. No liveliness, no happiness. And you could tell an environment as well by the disposition on people's faces. You can actually tell a person in a relationship too by the disposition on their face. There are so many things that you can tell if it's dead or alive by the disposition, what it looks like. So the dead zone, to me, in my personal opinion, is a place of lack of opportunity, lack of your potential being used or utilized, nothing that challenges you, nothing that brings you excitement or joy. And remember, we're talking about people, places, and things. People, places, and things. So all of this is coming about because I will not lie to you. And I'm going to use some scripture to help you understand. I hope it's just practical and it makes sense to you so you can understand what I'm stating to you. There is a scripture in the Bible, and it says that the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. He'll steal from you, he'll kill, and he'll destroy. But then it says, but God came to give life and life more abundantly. So the last season that I went through in my life, it seemed like everything was drying up. Relationships, opportunities. It seems like I was just walking through life. I'm a pretty happy person, or a pretty silly person, comical. But it seems as though it was so hard to laugh some days because things were extremely dry. I went to work, it was dry. The atmosphere was dry. You try and bring a little bit of laughter, you could almost hear a pin drop on the floor. And it just was nothing. It was just silence. It was just still. It just sounded dead in the environment. Which I can partially understand because I work at a chemical dependency center. And in there is a fear of death. People know people that have overdosed and have died because of their substance usage. And then they're going through things that are hard on them. just everyday life, which we all go through. And so there was a dryness in the air. It didn't feel like any life on certain days. And I had to continue to go to this job. And then I had to interact with some people in this past season of my life where they were either depressed or they feel hopeless. Um, just everything was going wrong. And so we would interact with one another, and it was just like, man, they just sound like life is just sucking the life out of them. And this was also going on at my job. And then when you interact, you interact with these people, and you're in these places, your mind starts to gravitate to that place of death, which to me, in my opinion, is depression. It's depression. Because when people are depressed, they don't want to do anything. They don't want to get up. They don't want to go out. They want to be tucked away in the dark. They don't want to entertain themselves. Sometimes they're miserable, and they want other people to be miserable with them because other people are happy. So that's what I describe death on earth. No, you're not in the ground, but it feels like you're not alive or you're dead on earth. So people, places, and things. You don't have to be experiencing in all of those areas, but I do believe that once it starts to affect one area, it goes and then it creeps over to another area, and then it just seems as though your life is miserable. You are not happy. And that is what I classify as the dead zone. And sometimes you have to go through that to get the epiphany to understand I am not happy. What is it that's making me not happy or content or joyful? And when you start to think about that and process that, because sometimes you could just be around a person that's miserable and you feel like you owe it to them every day to get on the phone with them and make them happy or bring them joy or give them a solution to their problem. And that's not true. Other people have to be willing to do the work to get into a position to be joyful and happy themselves. What that really is called codependency, where you have taken somebody else's life and now they live through your life. Meaning you feel like as though it's your responsibility to make this person better. So they become an assignment or a project to you. And you're not even focused on yourself. You've pretty much lost yourself. That's another example of a dead zone. So when you are engaging with people, entertaining things or places that ultimately feel dead, inevitably it goes inside of you. But on the contrary, it's also coming from you sometimes. And that's one thing I had to acknowledge about myself. There was a day I was sitting, I was thinking, and somebody very close to me told me, they said, you're around a lot of miserable people. And when I thought about it, I said, I didn't get offended. I took it and thought about it and started to process it. And I said, well, you know what? They're right. And it was true. I really was around a lot of miserable people. So the ending result was myself. I felt miserable. And so when you're miserable, you will find things to be upset and irritated about. Things will make you upset and irritated for no reason. And then you'll murmur and you'll continue to complain and you'll spew these things out. And then your environment, that the very, very space that you're in feels miserable. So today, I want to help you get out of the dead zone. Because as I stated, I myself just emerged from a dead zone. And there's so much life, there's so much peace, there's so much joy, there's such of a knowing, there's so much confidence. Because the dead zone, it takes hope away, it takes faith away, it drains your ability to think for something new and different. The dead zone is a life sucker. But when you get past that and you go into feeling more livelier or full of life, so many things come to you. It's like you're a magnet. And when you get to the happy place of abundant light, it is actually a repellent for people that are miserable. Because people that are miserable do not want to be around people that are happy. People that are genuinely happy at their core, it actually makes them mad and they can't be around it. So you want to get happy. You want to get happy because it will repel the things away from that shouldn't be around you, and it will bring to you the things that should. So trust me, you want to get happy. Let me help you. Let me give you some nuggets on what you have to do in order to be happy. Number one, you have to be willing to sacrifice different relationships that do not add to you or where you're going. I understand that sometimes you go through different things with people at different intervals and seasons in your life. However, there is a time where those situations are over and the people have to fall off. And some people will do their best to stick around. They will do their best to stick around, but it's not conducive to where you're going. It's actually a distraction. And that person becomes a leech. They leech off of you, off of your joy and your happiness, and then you are tired. You're tired and you're exhausted because they take everything from you. And that's another thing that you can notice as well. I'm not saying that we are not meant to encourage one another. I'm not saying that we are not meant to be there for people and pray with them and pray them through. But you don't have to zap yourself dry and drain yourself every time people come around, because they're not doing what they're supposed to do to keep themselves encouraged and happy. And I know because I myself have done it. I've been going through situations, or I was going through situations, and I would just lean on people and just call them, and things were so bad. I'm pretty sure I've sucked them dry at different times. And now it is done to me sometimes. I don't want it to be done to me. Because you have to give people space and time to grow. You give them what they need, and it is up to them to do what they're supposed to do with it in order to see growth, or what we call a harvest. So number one, you have to be willing to sacrifice different relationships that don't aid you or where you're going. Number two, you have to be willing to come out of environments that are not going to help you become a better version of yourself. The environments actually take you back. You have memories and things that make you behave a certain type of way. So you have to come out of those environments. Number three, hobbies and habits that you have. You have to be willing to let those hobbies and habits go. Whatever those are that don't aid who you are and where you're going, you have to find a way or a strategy to let those things go. So that's what the bigger picture is. It is about letting go of the dead things that don't produce life. You're going to be challenged because it's going to be different, because you're so used to it. And that's where it becomes extremely uncomfortable. But you have to be willing to do the work to be put in that position to change. You have to be willing to change, and you have to be blatantly honest with yourself, which is number four. You have to be honest with yourself about where you are in your process, where you are in your life. Are you living your optimum life? And if you're not, move and act accordingly. Remove yourself out of relationships, remove people from you, and then it will ultimately help your mindset. Your mindset will become healthier. I promise you, it's sometimes I have talked to different people, and I would start thinking things that I wasn't thinking or feeling things that I wasn't feeling until I started talking to the people, and vice versa. I'm pretty sure there has been people around me and their whole mindset has shifted because I wasn't in a place of positivity. I wasn't in a place of hope. My situation was dark, and it just seemed like the darkness was coming out of me more than the light. So you have to switch. It's like a transaction. Whatever is dark, you switch it for light. The more light that you acquire, it will dispel the darkness. The darkness cannot get rid of the light, but the light can get rid of the darkness. The more that you walk towards the light, your spirit will become lighter. You'll feel healthier. You'll want to get up, you'll want to get moving and motivated to live an abundant life. As that happens and it breaks off of you, that's when you know you have transitioned into a healthy place of light. Do not misunderstand me. There will still be things, there will still be what do we call adversities and things that come, but your mind will be light-hearted to handle it. The dead zone is not a happy place to be because it just keeps going down and down and down and down. We want you to come up, feel encouraged, and be happy and live your life. The saying YOLO, you only have one life, you only live one life, you only live once, which is true. So you don't want to keep going through the same things over and over and over. You want to get the perspective so that you can move about, enjoy your life, and then you can be an example of abundant life to other people. So I hope that this helps someone. I hope you're emerging from your dead zones. It is my prayer that you share this with someone. Maybe they're battling with depression and they don't know how to get out. And, you have to get to the root. And either sometimes it's a people, place, thing, a habit, or a mindset. So please just share this with someone. I want you guys to be encouraged. I will be back with more content as I am growing and evolving and pressing past certain things and challenging myself to be the optimal and best version of myself. I hope that it is helping you. Thank you so much for tuning into the dialogue. You can definitely follow the podcast, as I said, on Spotify, Google, Apple, and Anchor. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll be back with more content. Thank you, everybody.